Welcome to BrotoGP. This is episode number 99. This is not a Jorge-centric episode because he didn't win the race. We are also not swearing this time because we've heard that YouTube doesn't like it so much. I was very tempted right there. No, the Sachsenring round just happened. There's some racing stuff to talk about. You already know who won. And then we have some listener questions at the end and a bunch of other news. So let's get this one moving.
What's up, guys? Kevin here with my stash. The stash's name is Daniel.
Bring it closer. Bring it closer. Wait, why is his name Daniel?
Because Daniel Day-Lewis, son, with the fucking thick ass. Oh, sorry, we already swore.
Oh my god.
That lasted 8 seconds.
Revenue lost.
Title of Rob's sex tape. Title of my sex tape. Dang. What a drag.
Oh, man.
So,
we're gonna be like the opposite of Bill Gates, where we lose money every fucking second.
Every single time.
I just want
to every second episode.
It's like it's like asking BrotoGP to not be bro, yo.
Exactly. You can't tell us not to be bro.
We do get many requests to never change and to just keep broing down. So maybe we'll do that. I don't know.
We need the pocket change, though. That's why we gotta change.
Right.
It literally will be pocket change.
To answer the guy who asked on Instagram if we ever feel like expanding beyond racing to the moto industry in general, that's the problem. I can't stop fucking swearing constantly. And when people ask me on Instagram what the craziest sexual thing I ever did was, and I said 2 chicks at the same time, and everyone sends me posts like, yeah, dog, like that's our problem, right? Like, that's the problem.
I have actually been asked by someone that publishes a motorcycle magazine if we could make a family-centric episode, and I just kind of gave him like, I don't know, not really sure.
Maybe
I don't know.
That would just be me and Everett with our kids, right? Talking about motorcycle racing or something.
A straight dad, bro, down.
Exactly. No, you know what? That's gonna be a World Superbike episode. Dad's racing.
You will get 17 views. It will be terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Dennis and Everett will be in like white New Balance shoes with crew socks all the way up, barbecuing terribly, but no one actually telling the other one that it's terrible barbecue. And then no talking. And Dennis is gonna have like a Kiss the Cook fucking shirt on or something, and Everett's gonna be sitting there in like a polo shirt with a Make America Great Again hat on or something like that. And you guys will all be talking or whatever. It's going to be epic. The dad episode of BrotoGP is going to be good. In fact, I kind of think we need to do that instead of this episode.
And listen, 17 views or listeners, that's a start. That's how BrotoGP started, man.
I'm going to wear the Hawaiian shirt that like Dennis's wife got him on some random trip to Maui that he never wears. And I'm going to go into his closet and get it. And I'm going to wear it fully buttoned up with like a pair of white shorts.
Oh, really? Wait, are they white denim? Are they linen?
Of course they're white denim. What do you mean are they white denim? Yes, they are. And I'm gonna grow this stash out like 10 times as thick and just slick my hair back. I mean, just bam.
Let's get back to the mustache. Is that coming back? Because I'm still getting used to seeing Laverty with the mustache. You've got one, and I was
basically what happened. I didn't shave for 3 days, and then I thought it would be funny to have a stash. That's the extent of the effort I put into the stash.
It looks like it's coming back.
Yes. All right. Let's before we get to some other business, then I'm gonna kick us off with our first listener question. So Jennifer wants to know: did the porn stash make Bautista faster?
I was gonna say I noticed he had the porn stash too. What's up with that?
I got a picture of him here. What did he get? He got 5th, right?
Yeah, he did.
Where am I?
Yeah, he was riding for he's riding for his fucking career. I mean, they literally were like, it looks like World Superbike is for him and all this. He's riding for his career. Suddenly he can put that Ducati into 5th. You know what I mean? Like, it's it's kind of one of those things where you get a little extra 10th when you are riding for your life, literally.
Yeah.
I don't even think he did that much better. Last year he got 6th at Sachsenring. Like, it just seems like he goes kind of well at this racetrack. So I'm not giving him that much credit, but yeah, and the whole contract thing always comes up around this time of year for all the satellite riders. So
right. And what was amazing too is that he clearly could have nearly crashed at any time, and had he crashed or had some sort of incident with one of the bikes on track, he sort of certainly called rider's law. with a Z and gotten his plug in for the people that sponsor him so that we have enough money to actually do this episode.
Not on the racetrack. You can't call them for the racetrack.
Don't call them on the racetrack, assholes. Do not do that.
Or
you signed
international racetrack at that.
Right.
Yeah, right. Sai, I don't know if Sai is up and up on his German law. I think they're pretty crazy over there. But no, let's do that. So this awesome poster right behind me
Banner
is for banner. I'm sorry, is for Riders Law.
Vinyl
California Motorcycle Accident Injury Lawyers. If you need any legal help, and especially if you're in the state of California, please give them a call. They service the entire state of California. Title of Rob's sex tape.
Yes,
and
beat me to it.
Yeah, they are based out of Orange County, but they will fly anywhere to make sure that you're represented in court and make sure that they win your case for you. And I think we've said this before: you pay nothing. So if they don't recover any damages for you, then they don't get paid, which is why they are very motivated to win that case for you. They're great lawyers. They're supporting our sport. They're supporting our community of motorcycling in general. They're going to be hanging out with me in Utah and helping my racing this weekend. So definitely, if you need legal help, if you need to be represented, give Riders Law a call. That's Riders Law with a Z. And check out riderslaw.com.
Correct. Also, you might be wondering why I might be a little back and forth on this episode. I was in New York this weekend competing, ended up having my stupid ass United flights all screwed up. We sat on the tarmac for an hour and a half, and then we sat on the tarmac for an hour and a half after we landed, missed my connecting flight from Chicago to San Francisco, and then the dude told me he could definitely get me to LA at 7 in the morning. Speaking, this is 8 p.m. the night before, and again, I said, I don't live anywhere near LA, so I don't know why you're bringing LA up. Like, I'm not going to, even if I were to go to Rob's house, that's not even close enough to go to Rob's. And
no, it's really not.
Right. So after basically having to put on my like single mom Karen hat, you know, like, thanks, Karen. Like, I had to like turn around and like get myself ready. Be like, this is unacceptable. I need to speak to your manager. And after some hassling, I got us on a flight to booked out that landed me at 3:30 in the fucking morning this morning. So after 2 very robust and full venti coffees, I am ready to go for this episode.
What size is venti?
Well, because venti is the best size.
Is that like the half gallon?
No, that's the person at the seam size, dog.
Oh my god.
No, let's get so Kev's tired. He's that's also why the cats are bugging him, because they haven't seen him for like 3 days. So if you're watching on YouTube,
George will be featured prominently in this episode. You will both hear him and see him if you were on the YouTube channel.
We already saw some cat butt go across the screen. Everyone, I'm sure everyone's like, Kitty. They've been doing that all over the place. No, let's get to what's our first topic for motorcycle racing. No, I don't even want to talk about Marc Marquez dominance. It's more of the same stuff. What should we
it's just so boring. Like there was never any question he was going to win, start to finish, no matter what. There was no question he was going to win. It was never in doubt. He's insane at this track. He's incredibly good at this track, in like specifically, let alone on a bike that's doing very well for him this season, on a season when the Yamahas are struggling to win races, although they're fighting for podiums. It was just like, oh God, everything was lined up as much as possible for a hideously boring race heading into the summer break.
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, from a technical side of things, we know that the Honda is generally about braking and accelerating, right? They don't favor corner speed all that much, and Marquez doesn't, right? He crashes mid-corner, sacrifices a little bit of corner speed, and then drives out. But Sachsenring is all corners. It's all left. There are no drives, which is why the Ducati doesn't have a significant advantage here. And yet we see him do phenomenal for the last 9 years. It's ridiculous. So the whole, from a technical side of things, it doesn't make sense. You want to know
how many years? It was 9 years. How many years? 9 years. He's king of the ring, Lord of the ring, at the Saxon King for 9 years. He reigned supreme. Jesus, fuck already. Like, this is why I can't do a family-centric fucking episode, because the whole race, we have all this drama happening with Alvaro Bautista on like a piece of shit Ducati from 23 years ago. He's basically on a 750 Paso, you know what I'm saying? Which, by the way, Dennis probably randomly bought yesterday because what Dennis does for fun is randomly buy Italian motorcycles. Go on his Instagram and find
for
out.
other people. For other people.
Right, exactly. And we have Maverick coming from like 29th on the grid to 3rd, and all they keep saying is Saxon King. Fucking, I mean, god damn. Like, you wonder why we all hate him. Like, don't get me wrong, I love pizza, but if you strap me down, hold my mouth open, and fucking force feed me pizza, I don't want the pizza anymore. Despite the fact my literal proclaiming of love for pizza. If you waterboard me with Marc Marquez, I no longer root for Marc Marquez. What I'm saying is Dick Cheney and Dorna are two sides of the same coin, equally as bad.
I had a vision in my head of the movie Saw and someone just dying by being forcefully fed pizza. Like Saw kind of mixed with Seven. Because what did the dude have to do in
if I fucking found myself in some Slovenian hostel like that movie by Eli Roth, and the dude had a drill that he was going to jam into my thigh for fun, or he had like a highlight reel of Marc Marquez winning at Sachsenring while they kept saying Sachsenring, drill my leg, bro. Drill my fucking leg.
The one thing that I want to know is I feel like Marquez wasn't expecting this win in some way. Why did he celebrate so much at the end of the race? He ran into the fans. He played with some guy's beanie. Like he was so stoked on it. Like usually your celebrations are more muted when you know that it's gonna happen.
I'm thinking maybe because it's the last round before the summer. Want to go out on a high, maybe. That's about it.
Yeah, he ran into the wrong stands. He ran into the Valentino crew. They all just
was a little further
at him.
over.
There were some MM fans over there, a little, like a handful.
Yeah, it wasn't like the Sea of Yellow stands. It was just next to the Sea of Yellow. It was Valentino Rossi fan club overflow.
Every fucking grandstand has a Valentino Rossi fan club, so that's not really fair, Kev. Come on.
Right, there's a couple of there was a couple of Marc Marquez fans describes like 16 of the 19 tracks.
Yeah, that's true. I think Dennis is swearing more on this one just because I said it earlier.
Dennis is mad because I called him out on the dad status, so now he's trying to like keep it street right now. He's trying to keep it street.
Word. West Side.
It's that shirt going to his head is what it is.
West Coast.
All right,
West Coast.
Let's transition away. We already started talking about Ducati a little bit, but let's dive into the factory team here. So you Kev said that you weren't really surprised in any way by Marquez winning. I think I was a little surprised, maybe because I'm a little bit more gullible. I read really far into the qualifying results and into Jorge's performance early in the race, and I kind of thought that he had a chance. There was just
Rob, sweet, innocent, pure Rob, pure as the driven snow. Mm-hmm. Never been touched by a man.
All right.
Right.
Keep it
Don't
going.
be honey potted. This is when you know I'm too tired. I'm like, I can't stop laughing at my own jokes. But what would ever make you think that he wasn't going to win? Like, you looked at qualifying and you thought, well, he's won for the past 8 races. I know this because they've been force-feeding this down my throat for 3 days. And he got pole. And he's won a bunch of races this season. It's a bunch of lefts, and all he does is dirt track. And Rob thought to himself, yeah, I bet that guy who can win some but then comes in 10th could beat him.
I think it was actually Petrucci on the front row that kind of got me. And because Petrucci's lap, like, he did get the toe from Jorge, but he put in a really solid lap, and Marquez didn't have it at that point, right? He had to really try hard to get that pole lap, and I think that's kind of what fooled me. I don't know. I'm so over the boring portion of him winning every race that my mind is just leaping.
Denial.
Yeah, it's in denial. It's just trying to find ways to make these situations more exciting. But then, yeah, once throughout the race, once Ducati kind of started falling back a little bit, once Jorge was struggling with grip on either tire, we can't even figure out which tire he was having problems with. Then at that point I knew it was over, and I was just hoping that there was going to be something more exciting further back in the grid, or in the pack.
Jorge said in his post-race interview that they were working so hard to fix the front end grip that they also messed up the rear grip. I don't know how that worked, but
yeah, so there's only one way I can it kind of makes sense if you watch the race again, because on corner entry his front end was planted in turn 1 every time. The reason why he was botching the corners is because the rear end was wagging all over the place, and that's not a style that Jorge usually rides with. He usually keeps both tires in line. He's learned to use the rear brake like Ducatis need to be ridden, and he probably is taking advantage of it. So when you subtract all that braking from the rear brake, you're going to go deep, even if the front end is planted.
Rear end wiggling all over the place. You're gonna go deep. Title.
That's all you heard. That's all you
I've
heard.
been holding on to that for 25 seconds, bro.
Selective hearing.
I saw it in his eyes.
That's as long as I can hold it. 25 seconds.
Title of no, not that title.
Title of Kevin Sex Tape.
Title of Kevin Sex Tape.
Rob's a professional, people. He's a professional.
No, yeah, I mean, I was also slightly confused by his comments, but I kind of went back and I looked at some of his failed pass attempts, and actually I have some of them here. And yeah, like he's all over the place. They're not Jorge Lorenzo style corner entries, so he runs deep. I mean, he only goes deep by 10 feet. You're not talking a lot of braking force that he was lacking, but it's just enough for him to miss the line.
How come it seemed like it was only turn 1 though?
Was it only turn 1?
Well, prominently, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, well, what other hard braking?
By the end of the race, I love how two things. One is that Rob started this episode with we're not talking about. It's not a Jorge-centric episode, and despite the fact that Jorge, who knows or who cares where he finished, we're sitting here talking about it a bunch.
Oh yeah, no, of course. I'll throw up other pictures.
Kevin, let me ask you one final Jorge point. Would you have rather Marquez win the last 2 races or Jorge win the last 4 races when talking about a boring race?
This race was boring enough that I would take Jorge winning this one in his boring fashion, because that's effectively what Marquez did, and Jorge winning is still a larger story, right? It still interests me more than Marquez winning again at the same. I mean, that's the problem we keep saying, right? It's not that I dislike Marquez per se. There's a lot I dislike about him. There's a lot I like about him, but there's certain things that make me sort of root against him. But one is that the story never changes. It's the same fucking movie over and over and over and over. It's the same song. And most songs, if you listen to them enough, get old. It's rare that a track you can listen to over and over and over again that doesn't get old. And to case in point, ninth, right, exactly. My Sharona, right, exactly. Right, it's that 9th race win again. I mean, it's the same story. It's funny. I rewatched the race this afternoon because I watched it on my phone in Harlem while I was literally eating at Harlem Shake, which was like a shitty little funny dive place. But that's all of Harlem.
That's an actual food place.
Yeah, I was eating hamburgers and fucking jerk fries and stuff. It was good,
I gotta get.
It was a good time. Yeah, you definitely need to get out more, but it's I watched the race again, and I even thought for a second in the first opening laps, Jorge gets to the front, and then Marquez gets pushed a little bit wide and passed. And I don't want to say roughed up, but, he had to move, and there was some close passing. I thought, oh, shit, maybe he's not going to run away with this one. I thought, hey, I've seen the fucking race, so I know he's going to run away with it. And, we already know he's won it 8 times. This is the 9th time. It's almost like you said, I'm being honeypotted into hoping that something else happens that strong, because it's the same thing over and over and over again. And that's the problem I have. I'll take Jorge winning the Ducati at Sachsenring just because it's fucking different, bro. It's just something different.
They're classically bad at this track too. Last year they were their best finish was Alvaro Bautista, 16 seconds behind the winner. So if you're comparing to this year, they did considerably better with Petrucci in 4th, only 3.5 seconds behind.
That's what Dovizioso said.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot better, but at the same time, because the MotoGP field seems to be coming closer together every single year, the points aren't there. And it's not helping out the title challenge in any way, and it's not helping it is helping our excitement because it makes for closer races, but it's not helping the championship excitement. But last Last point on Ducati. Should we talk about Dovizioso and how irrelevant he kind of seemed all weekend?
That's the thing. How did he go from to, last year seemingly a threat constantly to just Mr. Irrelevant constantly? It just boggles my mind. I mean, he's kind of gone back to old Dovi.
But that's the thing, though, right? Is like I just said, they were closer at this round. He did better at this round than he did last year.
But I think what Kevin is talking about is, for the last handful of races, how come he seems to have just disappeared?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking championship, right? He had two kind of unforced errors that we don't really see from Dovizioso that often, and it's pushed him much further back in the championship. He's still ahead of Jorge. He's actually now ahead of Zarco as well, or he's tied with Zarco, 88 points. God damn, that's practically half the points that Marquez has, and
right.
they're only halfway through the season. Yeah. I mean, he's fighting for, at best, he's going for second.
Look, Dovi's not going to fight for the title. The title fight is done for pretty much anyone. Sort of like something miraculous happening against Marquez and Valentino binds. That's it. The title fight's done. It's like we said at the beginning. We did the preview episode, and I jokingly said, who fucking cares? Marquez is on a bike that he likes that has little problems. He's going to run away with it, which is exactly what he's doing. But for Dovi, it's over. So for Dovi, I just want to see him win. I just want to see him win and be competitive, snag podiums, fight for victories, maybe get those wins against Marquez when Marquez tries those dive bomb attacks. It's like he went from being ice cold and never being shaken by Marquez's attacks, just nowhere to be found. I mean, the fact that despite the fact that Ducati has Dovi's won, Jorge has multiple wins, they're still behind Yamaha with no wins in the Constructor Championship. That's what that's letting you know is the discrepancy between their good performance and their bad performance is way too fucking high. Yeah,
so let's use that to transition then. I think I said in the last couple of episodes that Ducati is the new Yamaha, and mostly the other way. Yamaha is the new Ducati in that they're struggling to do development. They're struggling, like Yamaha is struggling to actually improve the bike, and their results kind of weren't where they expected, right? They're able to challenge for podiums, but not able to win. Am I still right on this? Like, it's hard to make that argument now when we have two Yamahas on the box and when they're second and third in the championship.
But actually, Rob, if you could just real quickly give me like a refresher, what exactly are Yamaha's electronic woes? What's the problem?
The fact that they stuck balls.
It's a little bit of everything, it seems. No, the number one problem is their drive. So they kind of have made the assumption that the chassis is peak frame and it's good, and that the reason why they're lacking drive and not able to put the power to the ground is because of the electronics. So, I mean, there's no way for us to know. We're going to talk about the IMU and ECUs a little bit later because I got some questions on it. But yeah, it's just, they did not invest, or it seems like they did not invest the effort into the spec electronics like Ducati and Honda have, and now it's hurting them more and more every single year.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like it's diminishing returns, right? It's like chasing your tail, and it's like we said before, like they've reached peak frame to an extent that they're chasing it around, but we've talked about this a million times. There's only a handful of these guys who can program these things, who can analyze this data correctly, who can program these, this software to the point that can bring that final 0.5%, because that's all Yamaha's missing right now is that 0.5%. But that 0.5% is the difference between the skill set that Marc Marquez has. Perhaps Honda doesn't. What Yamaha unfortunately needs to do is they need data engineers that can bridge the gap beyond the best rider in the world right now, who does something that many feel, there's a constant jokes and there's posts that shouldn't be possible. Like at this point, the posts about his save of the weekend are boring and we're over it, despite the fact that they are miraculous. And 25 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, they would have been like front page news, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I mean, even 5 years ago, he probably would have hit the floor every time. He would have been on different tires, right. And yeah,
Right. So what we're saying is that Yamaha needs not just a data engineer that can make their bike good, but that can make their bike so good for Maverick or Valentino that they can catch someone who's doing things you're not supposed to do. That bike needs to be 104%, not 99%. That's a problem because you can't make a bike that good. You know what I mean? They have to make the Yamaha so good that Maverick and Valentino can be comfortable doing things you're not supposed to be able to do.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that the Honda is, over 100% because you look at all the other Honda's performances. The Honda's probably developed to 96%, and it's Marquez that's bringing it up to 100%. And I mean, I think we've seen reports too before for Ducati and Honda that they actually poached engineers directly from Magneti Marelli, and Magneti Marelli are the ones that make the spec ECU and the software inside of it. So for them to be able to accomplish that, it seems like that has paid off over the past 2-3 years. You were going to ask something there, Dennis?
Go ahead, Dennis. I was gonna have a follow-up question for you, Rob, as a racer. So in Mav's post-race interview, in addressing Yamaha's electronic problems and not having a good enough drive, he said that he's having to change his riding style to compensate for that. So I'm curious, what as a rider can you do to work around that or to alleviate electronic woes driving out of a corner?
It's you're talking like milliseconds in tiny percentages, right? Like we've heard that Danilo Petrucci for the past year and a half has constantly been working on his right wrist, to quell tire wear issues, right? To settle it down and
constantly
to not
working on his right wrist. How are you going to say that? I'm not going to interrupt you. How are you going to say that Danilo Petrucci has problems with his right wrist and he's constantly got to work on his right wrist? And you're just going to say that. Like, you're not going to smile. You're not going to laugh. You're not going to think, how am I going to work around this?
No, that one, I missed that one entirely. So good job, Kev. Yeah. No, I lost my train of thought. I mean, just like Kev just said, right? They're fighting for small percentages. So what's Mav gonna do? He's going to change the time at which he opens the throttle by a tiny amount. He's gonna change the rate at which he opens it by a tiny amount. He's going to pick the bike up or not pick it up a tiny amount different, right? He's going to move little things around. I mean, maybe he even moves his, maybe he needs a new gas tank cover and he needs to adjust the weight bias of the motorcycle, of the whole entire system between him and the motorcycle to help drives when he's riding. I mean, Dennis, if you want to make a huge change to your bike on corner entry, just move your butt back 3 inches. Massive change.
My ass isn't that big, bro. Come on now.
Just move your butt back 3 inches. Title of Rob
Sexy. Oh man. Oh, this is perfect. Just setting Kev's gonna be on. Man. What Rob, are you doing now? Is there a cat down there?
Rob just backed into that one.
Yeah. That's a bad joke.
I might be bad jokes. Rob's sex tape.
Oh man, I mean,
the problem is we're talking about a bunch of useless shit. The guy goes super fast. Don't tell me about making moves here and there and slightly different. The fucking dude got third place from like wherever in the last 8 laps. He's fast as fuck, except in the beginning. All the other guys are fast in the beginning. They don't need to change the electronics. They don't need to do all this stuff. He has podium pace despite the fact that he does terrible in the beginning of the race. All they need to do is figure out, how can we get this guy to ride this pace with, half as much more gas added to the tank? Because right now, whatever the problem is at the beginning of the race is what's holding him back. He's running badass lap times. He's passing. He's not timid. He's not scared. He's passing guys left and right in races. He's getting third. He's running, pointy end of the stick lap times. He just can't do it in the beginning. And what we've seen in this era of MotoGP is if you're not in the front at the beginning, you can't win. Yep. Whatever it is plaguing him at the beginning of the race is what needs to get fixed, because he has the pace and the skill and the ability to win. We saw it last year, and we see that he has the pace, he has the aggression, he has everything that's required except for the first 1/3 of the laps.
It's kind of nuts because he ran the soft rear tire too, probably to help out those drive issues that the Yamaha is having, and it still wasn't enough when it was in the early part of the race, right? It just like you'd think the soft would be ready to go right from the beginning of the race. He would gain a couple of tenths. Maybe he did. Maybe if he had raced the medium, he would have been a couple of tenths slower for the first third of the race, and he would have needed to come from even further back. But yeah, it's an interesting problem. That's true. Yeah. I mean, and they're two very different riders. We've heard that Maverick is not on the super late hard braking spectrum like Valentino Rossi and Andrea Dovizioso are. He's not all the way to the Jorge Lorenzo spectrum, and he's probably not. He probably doesn't even brake as early or as smooth as Zarco does. I shouldn't say smooth. They all brake really smooth. Whatever. But yeah, no, it's just there's something stylistic and there's something with the setup that is causing those extra 10 liters of fuel to cause the bike to be 0.2 of a lap slower. Or maybe he's just unable to pass in the beginning. Like what he doesn't, I guess he does fall back slightly. He loses like 100 feet in the first 10 laps, and then needs to gain that ground back up. But yeah, so I think the main point I had here for Yamaha was that it really seems like they've done the traditional factory thing, right? The main difference between factories and satellite teams, especially throughout the season, is the factories are constantly doing development and they can actually fix their issues. And this is also different from Ducati usually. Ducati kind of stays stagnant throughout the year, whereas Yamaha and Honda classically have been able to improve and go faster throughout the season. So is Yamaha doing that? Have they done it They haven't done it enough. Do you think they're going to be able to do it more now that they have this very, very short summer break and are supposedly bringing more parts to the Brno test after the Brno round?
I don't know. The break is so short. It's not even really a summer break anymore. I know because the fucking British media are constantly complaining about how short it is now. There's too many races and all this stuff like that. But it's how much can they really do in this short amount of time? The last test they had like barely any new parts to test. Meanwhile, Ducati has all these new parts. It just seems like they're not. They're able to get by on the skill of their riders, but they're not bringing enough parts to fully make that paradigm shift.
Well, they're not bringing parts constantly because it seems like they've kind of been doing the development and planning to have it all done now, right? They don't want to bring a half-ass part and just try a little something at a race weekend or at a Monday test earlier in the season. They want to do a bunch of development and bring a load of parts all at one time. It's not like they're going to test during the summer break. But yeah, they've been saving it up. So do you think if Maverick and Rossi were only missing 3 seconds for this race, do you think these parts are going to be good enough at Brno, which is a track that kind of works with all of the motorcycles?
For me, it's hard to say just because of how different Rossi and Vinales are as far as riding the bike. I can't say, to be honest. Like in Maverick's case, I'm not really sure how much of it is the bike and how much of it is Maverick's first half of the race woes.
With it in between the years, which we kind of did complain about previously in this in the season, that Maverick seemed to be just giving up or just it was all his problem. And it might have been, right? Because like Kev just said, they haven't brought any parts, yet Maverick's performances have been getting better. He's been able to go farther forward towards the end of the races. So yeah, you might have a point there, Dennis, that he's just kind of fixing the rider as opposed to fixing the bike.
I guess for me, partly the problem is that by seeing Valentino not have this same problem with early performance, race performance, is that what parts are they really bringing that, because Valentino doesn't have this problem. So is this the problem the bike, or is it the problem with Maverick? Where are they pointing? Because you have right now, you see, if you're looking for development path, you've got one rider who has the pace at the end but not the beginning, and then one rider who has just below the pace all race.
Yeah.
And that becomes
that probably goes to what Dennis was just saying, right? They're stylistically different riders, but at the same time, they're still complaining about the same problems, the same development issues, right? There's not enough drive. That's mostly the only thing that they've been complaining about. They early in the season, they had a few issues with the front tire and getting it up to temperature, but now it's just that. And we hear about it more because Rossi now, all he says is, yeah, I've been telling Yamaha that for a year and a half.
Yeah, and then Maverick, he gets third and he complains about it in Parc Ferme, right? It's almost like this is my worry, is that you always kind of like, I worry about the cohesion with the team right now because it seems to be too easy now to blame Yamaha. I don't know, ask Yamaha. Or they're not, like I worry about self-sabotage, or is Yamaha going to bring these great parts for them when Yamaha probably feels to an extent they're getting thrown under the bus. I mean, they've given them a podium contender bike. They're having some problems with wins. We have a drought that's longer than sort of famous 2003 drought at this point. But how hard do engineers work? How hard do team members work when they feel like the rider's looking for excuses, or at least publicly saying it? Like I've said this a million times. Like when Marc Marquez had the problem at Phillip Island and it looked like he didn't read the board right, but his team said, no, it was our fault. Because that's what the team does, right? You take the blame for your rider to an extent when it's not actually for you because you want the rider to focus. But when the rider starts openly blaming you, I just worry about how hard or how inspired everyone is, both the team and the engineer. Because look, no one got into racing to get rich. No one got it. Rob knows. No, this is why Dennis doesn't race. No one got into racing for anything other than like the passion, right? The passion for it. And inspiration is worth a quantifiable percentage of a second. You know what I mean? Like being inspired, riding, right? And this is a real phenomenon. And when you see
Alvaro Bautista.
Right. Or see, engineers, when Aleix rode for Forward Racing, he crashed his bike 3 times at Qatar, like in 2014 or 2013, whenever that was. And they built his bike in the middle of the night out of like spare parts from everywhere else, right? Like that level of inspiration comes from being inspired comes from wanting to win, feeling that you can win, or feeling that you can do well, or make that next step. And I think that what you have to worry about right now is becoming so carte blanche with blaming the team that you're going to get a little bit of self-sabotage against the team. Like, it's not going to work as hard. Like, you're telling me some data engineer is going to stay up till 3 a.m. analyzing to like write the software just a teensy bit better when he knows that like if Maverick gets second instead of third, which is an improvement, he's going to get thrown under the fucking bus for it.
I mean, he probably is starting to believe, Maverick, at this point, that there's something inherently wrong with the electronics and there's not much he can do about it. Like that would be a problem, right? The electronic engineer agreeing with Maverick that they just need to wait for new parts or wait for a software update or
that's
something
the electronic engineer throwing his hands up in the air and saying, fuck it, I can't do anything else for you. I'm over it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they haven't reached the bottom of the barrel yet, right? The bottom of the barrel would be them, like the team coming back and starting to throw Maverick under the bus and just being like, no, the bike is good. It's all in his head, right? If they're butting heads over these kind of issues, then we know there are serious issues.
That would really make them the new Ducati, though.
Yeah. Yes, it would.
Start sending Vinales to like a Spanish therapist or something.
That'd be so terrible. Talk about one of the worst things you can do for your racer. Be like, yeah, you got to go see a therapist. All right,
right.
Let's do you have any closing thoughts for Yamaha here? Or they're at the tipping point now, or they're getting close to the tipping point, and what they bring to the Brno test and how they perform is really kind of going to set up the rest of Rossi's contract, like whether or not Maverick stays with Yamaha after his contract, right? They gotta right the ship here and start showing their racers that they can develop the motorcycle and bring them back to race wins. Kev just texted me he has to pee so bad.
And I just sent him the solution, bro.
Okay, it's like that bad. Like I actually have to leave in the middle of the podcast. It's that bad.
All right, go. We'll talk about Dani Pedrosa while you're gone.
Oh.
No one gives a fuck about Dani Pedrosa.
Oh, no, I do.
No, Dennis, that's why I'm fine with it. So, all right, we're moving off of Yamaha. We'll go to some non-racing stuff for a little bit here before we get into listener questions.
I'm not ready to call Dani non-racing stuff, bro. Come on.
Are you sure? Well, because you don't want to talk about his race, do you?
I can't even remember how he plays, so no, I don't. No, but here, let me ask you this. How do you feel about Pedrosa going to World Superbikes?
But where the hell is this coming from?
I'm just saying.
I
Like,
haven't
let's,
even.
let's just say it's a possibility. Is that something
Okay.
to get behind on?
Danny Pedrosa to KRT to be Johnny Ray's teammate, because now
Yes,
that
yes.
just this morning we saw that that Tom Sykes or WorldSuperbike.com confirmed that Tom Sykes is not racing for Cowie next year.
Right.
How do I feel about it? I think it'd be terrible.
Why?
There's no upside for Danny. There's no it's not gonna it would help the World Superbike Championship if Danny Pedrosa went over there.
What the fuck? I
but-
take a piss for 45 seconds, and you're talking about this nonsense of Danny Pedrosa in World Superbike? What are you talking about?
All right, Soriano's Law.
No, listen. Danny goes to KRT, wins a few races, maybe bags a championship. That's the final thing KRT needs to go back to MotoGP. And you know what? They're going to bring Danny back because if Sete fucking Gibber now can come out of retirement to go back to MotoGP, Pedrosa can.
The
No,
only
no.
reason Gibber now came out of retirement is because a fucking African dictator bankrolled it to be able to fucking launder his money for the Franco Hernando team, and no one seems to be bothered by that. I want to
was
point
it
out that
I
team...
thought it was South American. Was it African?
No, it was,
think it was
South...
African.
No, it was Equatorial Guinea, if you must know.
Gotcha.
And it was
Thank you.
it was done via, because Equatorial Guinea is the only Spanish-speaking country in all of Africa, and it was done through a fucking shady-ass real estate deal that bankrolled all of that stuff. I mean, if you want to get in depth, yeah, I it's something I actually looked into quite a bit, but it was a shady real estate deal in Equatorial Guinea, which is a tiny little country near the equator, as you can imagine, on the west coast of Africa, just below the little curve arch, if you remember what your map is. And it's the only spot for Spanish potential colonization in Africa during the race for Africa in the vaunted 1800s. And yes, it was literally a team designed to help launder money from that. Also, George is in that thing. That's awesome.
I think George is bored, actually. Like, move along, Soriano.
You asked!
All right, no, let's go back to it. So a few things about what you just said, Dennis. Kawasaki isn't ever going back to GP. They don't give a shit.
Not happening.
No, the only way that they will ever go back to GP or even consider it is if they start getting spanked in World Superbike and can't win titles, can't challenge for race wins. Maybe then they'll go back, because we saw that with Suzuki. They weren't doing shit in World Superbike, and they're like, all right, we're not getting a return from here, so we'll go back to GP. So because those things are not going to happen, Kawasaki will never go back to GP. So we're already nixing that idea. It's not going to happen. As far as Danny Pedrosa riding over there, like, I'm sure he could ride the bike. I'm sure he could win championships. I just don't think he'll care. And he won't win a championship. He already seems so unmotivated now. We were just talking about how inspiration and motivation give you that extra couple of tenths to actually win. For him, he needs a second a lap to be anywhere close to the podium.
Why are
like,
we
he's not
even
gonna
talking
get
about this? It's this is so ridiculous.
That's what you get for taking a piss, bro.
I know. I don't understand. I want to walk this back because I don't even know how we got here.
Dennis, he brought it up. It's terrible. No.
Dennis, goddamn, man.
Yeah. Okay. So two more things about Danny's retirement here. So Soriano's Law that Danny Pedrosa would stay at Repsol Honda for his entire career is still going. It's still good. And it is now essentially satisfied. The other
Essentially satisfied. Tyler
essentially.
Russ.
God damn it. I hear you like to go second. Wait, what was your Zarko meme? I hear you like to go second, baby. I finished.
I heard you like when a guy finished second, but good thing because I'm finishing ninth these days.
That's right. No, God, I lost my train of thought. Oh, so the sub point of Soriano's Law was that Danny Pedrosa will win a race every single year he's on that bike. So do you guys think it's still going to happen?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, well, of course you do, Soriano. No talking points. All right, moving on.
Yes, I think he's going to
Fabio,
win a race. He'll probably win Valencia or Sepang. This is every single year he's counted out. He has a bunch of injuries, and he randomly wins some race in dominant fashion. I see no reason to think he can't win a race until he doesn't win it, right? At some point, he just, like, he has to not win it for me to think. He has to go a whole season without winning a race for me to think he can go a season without winning a race. But this is his last season, so I'm still he'll probably fucking win Valencia. He'll probably win Valencia by 2.5 seconds.
I was gonna go with Sepang, but I could see Valencia happening as well.
Well, he's also won a Motegi before, so.
Marc
That is
Marquez
true.
is going to have wrapped up the fucking championship 4 races ahead. Yamaha's already going to be thinking about 2019. Suzuki's already going to be testing their shit for next year for Mir getting out there. Like, Tech 3 stopped giving a fuck 8 races earlier. Like, no one cares. All the movie star money dried up. And then Marc Marquez is, like, super over it, ready to go party in Ibiza with me, because me and him, we party in Ibiza. That's how we do it. There's photographic evidence of that. And and George is going to come back, and he's going to fucking go win Valencia when no one cares. There's nothing on the line. It doesn't matter. That's just what's going to happen. Like, there's no doubt in my mind he's going to win a race this year.
It matters
And George
for
agrees.
Soriano's Law. It matters for Soriano's Law, and that's about it.
Right.
Okay, so then the last part about Dani Pedrosa's retirement is his potential replacement, essentially the front runner to take the Yamaha Sepang International Circuit Petronas ride next year, which Dani Pedrosa was essentially slated for. And it's going to Fabio Quartararo, like 90%, I'd say. So I'm not entirely stoked on Mr. like P9 in the last race. So Kev, I feel like you're pro for Fabio.
I am, big time. And not just because he has the best hair on the grid.
It's because I'm not racing there.
Exactly.
Oh.
You know, he's super young. He's only still he's 19, so he's got tons of room to grow into it. He's won that speed up. He did incredible. I feel like Fabio has a lot of potential that hasn't been unleashed. When he was in Moto3, he was riding for the team when Leopard decided they would run the KTM instead of the Honda. We obviously saw what they can do when they have the Honda. They win championships with Mir and with Kent. They switched to KTM. He doesn't do that well, but the KTM bike isn't that great. Certainly not the year he rode. He goes to Moto2. It's a bit of a jump to Moto2. We've seen that from most riders. But what does he do? He rides for speed up. He wins a race. He backs up with second. Yeah, he got P9, but I mean that's Moto2. The difference between winning and getting top 10s is maybe 1 or 2 mistakes. That's why Moto2 is such a meat grinder. Jonas Folger, speaking of Sachsenring, got second at Sachsenring last year with only 1 win in in Moto2 on a Honda, and he looked competitive all season despite the fact that he was sick with like a serious illness that has taken him out, potentially been a career-ending illness. Fabio was young, talented, skilled, driven, and riding some momentum. I think it's interesting. I don't want to see Dani ride. I've said this a million times. I don't want to see an old beat-up guy riding on a new team that's getting off its feet. I want to see the inspiration. I want to see the hungry kid who's going to race for 9th as hard as he would race for 1st because a top 10 matters to him. I want to see, that kind of stuff. I don't want to see, so for me, a Moto2 winner and podium contender going to a satellite team is not weird. And we don't even know how good this Petronas team is going to be, but based on previous evidence with Rins and Zarco and, or not even Zarco, Rins and, why can't I get it? Because I'm tired as fuck. Folger, you've seen that you don't have to be like and even like Michele Pirro, you don't have to be like a Moto2 like world champion to do well in GP. Even then, if you look at most Moto2 champions, don't. It's the person that does well in GP tended to be the guy who showed some flashes of brilliance, but Maverick has done a hell of a lot better than most of the Moto2 champions, other than fucking Marc Marquez. Andre Iannone, he never fought for the title. He just won some races here and there and had tons of terrible responses. For me, Fabio represents like the young up-and-comer who I'm ready to see if he has what it takes on a GP bike with a good thing behind him, because we've said this a million times. It's a team sport, but part of the team is which bike you get. And hopefully on a well-supported Yamaha, we can see what he has to offer.
But I think
Yeah, I mean,
that's
the
the
one
crux of
thing-
the issue though is like we don't the team that's gonna run that bike. I mean, we don't know what their pedigree is.
Yeah, we have no idea.
That's
We've
the
heard
problem,
little things about a lot of the Mark VDS, or not the Mark VDS crew. Most of the Aspar crew is going to be sticking around, and they're better than the Mark VDS crew potentially. But I wouldn't put them up there at top level
Right,
in
it's like me
MotoGP.
saying Rob is better than Crayfar. Like we don't really know what that means.
Right, yeah, exactly. What does that even mean?
I have this idea kind of stuck in my head about Fabio. When he came into Moto3, and every time people have talked about him, it always seems like he has a good flash of brilliance, and then he hurts himself. Like, I wonder if he's going to be another sort of Dani Pedrosa, like if he's just going to be going well and then take himself out of contention with injury. I don't know. It's kind of like, I mean, obviously he's a far different person. He's probably 3 feet taller than Dani Pedrosa. He's only 19. There is that old adage that you can teach a fast racer to stop crashing. You can't teach a slow racer to go fast. So he might fit into that one.
I don't care if he keeps crashing. Just for me, it's a better storyline because the other, like, you tell me this, Rob. Like you're not sold on Fabio. Who's a better choice?
Yeah, just, I mean,
because
without having watched,
Fabio the story on Fabio is more interesting to me than the story of
Balda
or the story of. I mean, Balda would have been a good one too, but I kind of like Fabio's like almost like Phoenix from the Ashes style story. Like he was nowheresville, and then all of a sudden he gets his win. He's doing really well. He's coming together with that bike, and suddenly he gets his GP. Like sometimes timing is everything, and I'm hoping that this is
sometimes.
One of those sometimes.
Scott Redding would say always. Timing is always everything.
Right? Always everything.
We don't even have Scott Redding on the episode slated for the syllabus, but he did score a point this round. That was great.
And he got his head down.
Yeah, that was. There's so much. It's funny. You go to different forums across the internet, and the ones that are like Track Rider Racer, like Fanatic Central, they all hate it, and then the other forums that just want to see like entertaining shit happen on track, they're all for it. And the dichotomy is ridiculous.
What? Get out of here with the like fucking elitist snob bullshit. Like, show got fucking seriously with that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even want to fucking hear this purity bullshit. Give me some entertaining racers who do fun shit on the track once in a while. If we've said it a million times, this sport, in the end, this sport is just a branding exercise. If that Aprilia is not a top 10 bike, fuck it. Get your head down and make a funny pick, and let's all talk about it. Because the reality is every single guy on the track right now is a fucking stud and a hero that just doesn't, and the ones who aren't winning just don't have the exact timing, the machinery, everything working perfectly for them, or they're just missing percentages of a point of skill to finally get to the shiny pin. Is Scott Redding won multiple Moto2 races against Marc Marquez. It's not really worked out for him, but he's entertaining as all hell. And if you can't laugh at like hooligans doing dumb shit on bikes, like fucking kill yourself. I don't even give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like
That's the whole point of motorcycles.
The whole point of motorcycles is motorcycles are inherently stupid as fuck. We all accept that because stupid as fuck and super awesome fun time are Venn diagrams that are very overlapped. Very, very overlapped. You know what I mean?
Super awesome fun time.
Perfect. Super awesome fun time.
Why isn't that a title of Rob's sex tape?
Because no one has fun. Yeah.
No one has fun.
Stop walking into it, Rob. Jesus fucking Christ.
I know. This is why we work so well together, guys.
Bada boom.
All right, last point before we get to listener questions, and let's make this one very short, please. We haven't done Simon Watch in a while.
Oh my God! Let me just say, when he caught up with Mick Doohan, and he entered into this monologue about how he's a zero because he rides and wins when he's injured, but then his fucking question has nothing to do with that. I'm like, why did you even bring that up? Like, what's the point about telling him riding. I thought he was going to ask about somebody injured on the grid that's racing. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
I mean, I feel like the problem is Crayfar is getting slightly better, but he's still bad. But because the bar is so low, we're just like, I don't know, I guess he's a little better. I just wish I didn't have to ruin my whole season for him to get better, like on-the-job training. You know, like the season's already bad enough as is.
The reason why I brought him up is because I thought the last round he didn't really make any mistakes. There were no like content problems. He didn't really stumble over his words. Like, I mean,
dude, the last round was so epic.
Last round was so good because he was competent at his job.
Yes, exactly.
You know what? You know what I said?
So I brought it up because this time he was.
When I was at the restaurant and I was like, you know what? That waiter didn't spill one drink on me. I didn't find a single hair in my hamburger. Fuck yes, 5-star review. I'm gonna Yelp this shit right now.
Oh my god, we need to start a Yelp page for Simon Crayfar.
Please.
Oh my god,
do
a Yelp page of his, like, literally, like, review his things. Like, what happened was I ordered the special of the day, which is the plate of his Sachsenring interview, and there wasn't a single hair or pube in any of it. Thus, I gave it a 5-star review. It was a stellar performance by Mr. Crayfar today. He didn't fucking suck. He did everything he's supposed to do.
Oh, I'm losing it. No, my favorite part was when, like, 5 minutes before the end of the race, he brings up a point to the announcers, and the announcer's like, "Oh yeah, that's kind of a good point." And then he's doing the post-race interviews, and he brings up the exact same point verbatim and asks the question to the rider. I'm like, oh, we already heard this, you jackass. That's all. That's all I got. Okay, no, we're moving on.
We're moving on.
Okay, so what I got one more. I have 2 voicemails and I have 7 listener questions, or 6. We already did one of them. So let's do you want to do like a techie one or like a silly one?
I think you know the answer to that question, Rob.
Yeah, I know. All right. Claudio Fox has from Facebook has 2 here.
Okay.
Did the he separates Sachsenring into 3 different words, but did the Sachsenring ring results change the candidate order for the SIC Yamaha seat for next round? So we kind of already talked about Fabio, but there were 5 riders on that top 5 list there. Obviously, Dani Pedrosa he's kind of out, so we have 4 now. Are we changing the order? Are you going full Fabio number 1? Because didn't we do Vandermark as number 1 in that episode?
I want, first of all, fuck you, Rob. Speaking of Fabio, I wanted Fabio to be number 1, and Rob fucking melandried me on the fucking outline for that episode. So I don't want any of you guys. This is real behind-the-scenes action. This is the real shit. This is beneath the rubber. BrotoGP. Dun, 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 dun. I wanted Fabio to be number 1 because I knew he was going to get it, and Rob fucking ixnayed me on that.
Okay, so the answer is no. Kev is still going with Fabio as number 1. Claudio Fox's other question, is losing Sachs on ring round good or bad for the championship? So this is in reference to the fact that the contract with the promoter that's running the German GP is still good for a couple more years, but the track itself isn't making enough money, so they're going to move the German GP to the Nürburgring. Kev, you said good. Go for it. Why?
Look, because he wins every year, and I'm sick of seeing the same old story. And it's not hating on him. It's like, look, I don't want Coda on their fucking track either, because I hate watching a race where we know the outcome, because the whole point of the race is that we don't know the outcome. But at some point, it becomes so obvious that it ruins the weekend. And it ruins the drama of the race if you think, he's just buying his time before he runs away, or he's just going to win. I would rather see something new. And if he wins again, then fuck it. That's great. And that's part of it. But I'm ready for a new track. It's new. At least it's new. Right.
Dennis.
I mean, dude, if you're with your girlfriend for like 20 fucking years, 10 years, you're married. Look, man, sometimes you got to spice it up. You can have filet mignon every night. Sometimes you want fried chicken. Sometimes you just want McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you got to do something different, even if it's trashy. And send me to the Nuremberg ring, nice and trashy, and we'll see if something happens. I'd rather have something new and exciting, even if the result is the same, as long as the process is new.
I like how you started that off with if you're with your girlfriend for 25 years and then you transition to fast food quickly. Dennis,
right?
Dennis, finish this one off for us.
No, I got nothing on this one. Actually, I'm gonna have to concede to Kevin on this one.
All right. Okay, we are going to switch to a listener question, and I think I figured it out this time.
This is all kinds of fucking feedback.
Oh, really? No, don't.
What's up, fellas? It's Blake. It's your boy Block.
Block.
Just listen to the new podcast. Appreciate all the info, keeping us updated, keeping us laughing, keeping us on point with the info. Got one of those out there questions for you. If one drug was legal for MotoGP athletes to take and use on a regular basis, what would it be and why? And what fucking drug is Marquez on? Peace.
Kev, what do you got?
First of all drugs should be legal because we're all fucking adults who can do what we want, and it shouldn't be the act of taking the drug, but only any potential negative aspects after taking the drug that should be illegal. If I want to shoot black tar heroin into these veins right here, that's on me because I'm a grown-ass man. No one needs to tell me what I need to do with it. You know what I'm saying?
But if you're a professional athlete and it seriously increases your performance, do you think that's fair? You think just everyone should be using black tar heroin? No, we should not.
Black tar heroin increase your performance at all.
Okay.
I'm just glad that Balake called because if me personally, I was wondering if Aaron was gonna call in, but Balake calling in was good.
Making our way through the ABCs.
Exactly.
So to actually answer the question, it's got to be a form of like Adderall or something. Is meth a form of Adderall? Are they kind of the same thing?
Oh man, if they were methed out, that'd be insane. Like could you make Jorge focus anymore if you just gave him like massive hits of Adderall? God dang.
I mean, because like with motorcycle racing, they don't really need to be that much stronger. Maybe Jorge does, so he doesn't need a new gas tank cover.
If Danny had been on roids, he probably would not have been hurt nearly as much.
That's true. Yeah, yep. Tons of human growth hormone. So those are our two choices then: Adderall and human growth hormone.
Yes.
Awesome. I'll go with Adderall. No, you're not gonna pick one. Pick one.
Me? Oh God! I heroin. I'm stuck with black tar heroin.
Awesome. Dennis?
Well, unfortunately, I'm too wholesome to know anything about recreational or performance-enhancing drugs. So
Multiple perfect. There's a professional baseball player in the MLB that pitched a perfect game while high as fuck on acid. So all I want to say is that I would like Marc Marquez a lot more if he was in Park Ferment and they asked him how it went, and he told me, I don't know, I've been fucking tripping balls for the last 45 minutes. I will be the biggest Repsol Marc Marquez fan ever if Marc Marquez takes a hit of acid right on the grid in front of everyone and just goes and wins the race and runs it fucking perfect. I don't even care if he leads flag to flag, first turn to last turn. If he is stone cold tripping balls, I will support this.
Awesome.
Unfortunately, these kids can't even like drink sugary drinks to be able to take drugs. Like we all know that's not going to work out.
Right.
It's a very good point. All right, question here from Instagram from Drop It Switch. Yeah, there we go. Is there a future for Oliveira after a couple years on a KTM? He seems to have magic Sunday sauce, not unlike our favorite Italian, and it makes for great TV to have a rider who can finish strong from behind. Also, title of Rob Sex Tape.
Did you add that, or did he add that?
Oh, he added that. No, that's typed here.
My man.
Yeah, what do you think? Oliveira on the KTM? I mean, it's satellite KTM.
I have an overarching theme that I want to use this to jump to, which is I worry about the future, not the future of the sport, because it'll be around. We've gone through darker days, but we talked about, the same story. All this is that what we're seeing is every top tier talent, every like, is this the next guy? Is this the one? Like we said, Special Sunday Sauce, Miguel Oliveira, or Johan Mir is super fast right away, or Pecco Bagnaia is, you know, he's able to win on Mahindras and he's winning, you know, he might win the championship. They're all going to shit fucking bikes. They're all going to spots for the next few years. What's the future for Miguel Oliveira? I don't know. He's going to be on a satellite KTM on a team's first year as the satellite KTM. Who knows where he goes? Maybe he washes out because we never see the talent that happened, because none of these top tier talents that we view are going to top tier bikes. None. I mean, Repsol Honda just took, instead of Repsol Honda stealing Miguel Oliveira with their Red Bull connections or Johan Mir and all that, they're all these riders that we think could be. I mean, look at Johan Zarco, first repeat Moto2 champion. He's going to be on a KTM. And Miguel Oliveira, the guy who can pass, you know, 63 guys in one race, you know, and had all those wins in Moto3, is doing this. Or we have Johan Mir, who's going to be on a Suzuki. None of these good riders who we see as potential threats to like the Marquez, like, you know, hegemony is they're all going to shitty bikes where they're not going to be able to maintain consistent challenges. I have no idea. All I know is I feel like he's going to win 3 more titles, and they all going to, like, we're going to be glad that Oliveira gets a podium.
Yeah. Well, they're all kind of trying to go for the Maverick Vinales sort of path. Or, I mean, what's the best way to get on a factory Ducati is to go ride for Tech 3, right? When now, I mean, technically this is Tech 3 KTM, right? So you have to go to a shitty team to get noticed by the top tier factory bikes to even have a shot at riding for them. Right. But yeah, there's a lot of unknowns for Oliveira's career. I think that KTM has specifically said that they're going to have 4 factory bikes, or four 2019 KTMs next year. I mean, the boss, what's his name, Pitt Buyer, has made the point that when you run a 2017 Ducati in 2018, it's still new. You still had to make it, so it's not like you're doing less work, that much less work producing that motorcycle. So he doesn't understand why there's not, you know, every single motorcycle from a factory is the same, because he thinks it's less work to not have to manage different bikes. So that could be good for Tech 3 KTM. It could also be crappy because maybe the new bike doesn't work as well and they don't get the support and they don't know how to make it work. Yeah, Oliveira, it's a big unknown. Hopefully it'll spice up the mid pack at the very least. Well, will it?
But again, the answer is not whether it's going to spice up the series. It's where we're going to see Oliveira for this kid who we think has that special-ish. And my question is, I think it's going to derail him big time.
Yeah, so I mean, at best or at worst, he goes to the factory KTM, or maybe at worst he fades back and goes back into Moto2, and at best he goes. It should have been the
other way around. We should be seeing Pecco at factory Ducati, not Petrucci. And I love Petrucci, but come on, we should be seeing fucking Oliveira at factory KTM, not Pol Espargaro. Like, at some point, we need to get these top tier young gun talents on, because everyone that ever did well in GP and fought for titles, they did well right off the bat. And you can only do well right off the bat if you're given the correct equipment to do so.
All right. I got another one here from Instagram. MotoGP Sillies wants to know, please discuss why Kev was on a boat with Marc Marquez. So if you haven't seen our social media, and if you're not watching the video right now, Kevin was on a boat with Marc Marquez. I'm pretty sure it was...
If you look like George Clooney, you can be on anybody's fucking boat.
Right. Especially if you were a dead ringer for George Clooney, you can get on a yacht.
Yeah.
I mean,
because if there's one thing I specialize at, it's getting naughty on a yachty.
As a George Clooney impersonator.
What do you mean impersonator?
That's true. We've never seen both of you. We've never seen you both in the same place at the same time.
Nope. No one has ever. That's a very good point. No one has ever seen me. And you might say, but George Clooney doesn't have tattoos. Look, none of you assholes thought Ben Affleck had a terrible phoenix rising from the ashes tatted on his back, and he was able to play that shit off for like 8 years.
The other picture we saw of George Clooney today was him in a turtleneck, so you know he could have the tattoos under there.
Right.
That's true.
All right, so no stories from Marc Marquez on a boat.
I mean, Rob wanted me to make up some grand story and like improv this thing. The problem is I'm so fucking like I've slept like 5 hours in the last 27 hours. It's pretty sweet. It hasn't gone too well. I could make up some grand story about looking just like him and strolling onto that boat and getting in between him and his brother, mouth kissing and all of that stuff like that. I just don't have it in me tonight. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh man. All right, we're gonna go to another listener question then. So let's see, what do I got here?
Hey, this is Brian from North Carolina. I'm actually really curious about what you think about the MotoGP rule changes regarding the ECU's channel limitations and how that will interact with the IMU. Is that going to give a bigger advantages to riders like Marquez who don't really seem to make much use of it, or is that going to maybe help teams that haven't gotten as far with their IMU technology? Really curious how that's going to shape up for 2019. So, yeah, have fun with that one, kids.
I think we just found Rob's new best friend, yeah?
I think we did. You
I
like
think
how
I
snuck
aged
that
9 yeyears in the span of that call.
You like how I snuck a tech tape
Can we
question
go back
into
to
that
talking
one?
about Pedrosa and World Superbikes, yeah?
No. Yeah, right. No, and Maybrad _ from Instagram also wants to know, is IMU doping really playing that big of a deal? Is it a thing? Are there teams just using the IMU as an ECU? And he's also heard rumors that there's a standardized IMU for next year. Is that actually happening? So,
dude, first of all, what's
obviously,
IMU?
I'm taking.
I don't know what that is.
Yes, Rob, please explain this for the layman's here.
Normally
we hear ECU.
What does the acronym stand for? Inertial Measurement Unit. That's right. I forgot about that one. The IMU is essentially the little teeny box that measures what the motorcycle is doing, like in space, like its position, its lean angle, its acceleration,
There's
whether or not it's
one
wheeling.
thing that Rob is a fucking expert on. It's a little teeny box.
I'm okay with that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't complain either.
Yeah.
I wouldn't complain either.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. You just find that one really nice little teeny box and you just run with it. No, yeah. So the IMU is like the ECU does all the math. The IMU does all the measurements that the ECU does the math on. So without the IMU, if you have a street motorcycle and it doesn't have an IMU, you don't have the best traction control available. It's just not possible to do it with only wheel speed sensors. If you have a new Kawasaki, a new Ducati, the new Suzuki, a couple of the other ones, and it has an IMU, your traction control can be amazing. So the questions here are really focused around how the rules are going to change for next year. Honestly, all this talk about the channel limitations is no big deal to me. I don't give a shit because of what Maybrad from Instagram has brought up. There is going to be a standard IMU for 2019. Here's the screen cap of the rulebook. In 2019, these things are going to change. There will be mandatory use of the official inertial measurement unit. Because the IMU is going to be standardized, teams can't IMU dope anymore. They can't reprogram it. They put their own software in there. They can't make the IMU a little backup ECU. So
this
to
goes
go back
to our question on drugs, because what we get is nerd ass on the spectrum Asperger dudes, Adderall to the gills, writing these fucking channel softwares for these IMUs, and that's how they win. Like that's in the end, that's how it is. It's like some guy in the basement with chin pubes and a porn stash, not like my real stash, but like 8 hairs, the kind of stash Rob can grow. The problem is Rob knows these guys personally. That's the problem. He's like crew with these guys. So that's really where
I make sure to shave.
Question. Right.
Yeah. So if you gave all of those engineers more Adderall, Marquez would go even faster, because you got to assume that some of them are already using Adderall. No, yeah. So as for performance gains for all of this, I think it's going to do exactly what the Spec ECU did for MotoGP. It's going to bring the field closer together still. The it's this the satellite teams are probably limited, right? If like HRC is IMU doping, if they're cheating by having fancy software in their IMU that they're allowed to do whatever the hell they want, then they probably didn't give it to Cal. So maybe next year, when everyone is using a standard IMU, Cal will be a little bit faster.
Then he can crash out of second instead of seventh.
Thank you for taking that one, Kev. Yeah, if we see us as performance change, it's going to be tiny. It's going to be very difficult to notice. So, I mean, we're going to have to be on the lookout for it. Other than that, as far as the channels actually changing, that because the standardized IMU is coming next year, we won't really see any side effects from the channel regulations changing. They just kind of clarified some rules. It's not even really in the rule book itself. It's not highlighted what the changes they made except for the standardized IMU stuff. So, all right, I got I know you two don't want to talk about that anymore. Any closing thoughts, Dennis, on the IMU?
I just thought it meant an impossible mission unit, you know, from like Ethan Hunt.
Yes. Yes.
That's close. No, I got
force, by the way.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's what it sounded like to me. But anyway.
Right.
Okay, wait, I got
stuck on unit.
He really is. I got one left. This is another tech question, but I feel like I'm not going to answer this one. Dennis, I'm going to let you take this one.
Okay.
No, so you got it. So Jackalo626 wants to know, I have bump started my bike several times in my years of riding, but have I had to jump up and slam my butt when I dump the clutch. Elaborate on their needed technique.
Is this a real question? Like, this is really asking this, right?
Yeah, no, he's being serious.
Yes, Dennis, talk about why this dude needs to drop his butt into stuff.
It kind of depends on the size of your derriere. You know, I mean, if it's not that big, it's not going to cause much of it.
My language nowadays.
Yes, are you a 5'5", 118-pound Spanish almost child?
It's probably not going to matter if you are.
Yeah, if you are, you probably should, jump up and down on the motorcycle to bump start the bike.
Also, it kind of matters what kind of bike it is.
It really does. I'm sure, Dennis, you have a much harder time bump starting your R1 than I have bump starting my R6, because as we see in Moto 2, they bump start them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And in that regard too, right? A Moto 2 engine is a production CBR motor, which I've got one in the garage, whereas a MotoGP, like, it's, just race cams, nothing too crazy, a little bit of head work, nothing too crazy, whereas a MotoGP bike is unobtainium. It's straight up, everything is fancy, so it doesn't bump start very well. They even have little levers to make sure that the gearbox and the fancy slipper clutches allow you to bump start the bike, allow you to even start it with the rollers. So yeah, it's kind of a needed technique, but probably not needed outside of MotoGP all that much.
Agreed.
I think that's all I got. Do you is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
It was a shitty race. Heading into the summer break. The season's all but wrapped up. The only thing of interest is that number 46 is 46 points behind. I don't know. Like, I tried desperately to think of like funny shit to say and do and joke around about and all that stuff. But god dang, man, it's just like the sense of inevitability is crushing.
But I'm gonna have to ask you guys the same question I asked earlier this season. Which of the two is likely to still lose their championship? Ray in World Superbike or Mark in MotoGP?
Neither. They're both going to run away with it.
Really?
Yes.
World Superbike, they're on their summer break now, which is actually like 3 summer breaks in a row, and they only have 4 rounds left. Like, Ray will have the title wrapped up the first or second round when they come back. Probably 3 more races and he'll have the title wrapped up. It's going to be that's going to be boring. Right when we get back into thinking about watching World Superbike, the season will be over for them because they'll have no races left. It's a terrible move for Dorna.
The most interesting thing about World Superbike was the fact that silly season's actually kind of wild and no one ever talked about it. No one ever said, like, Sykes is not going to ride for Cowie. And Yamaha is still up in the air, and there's actually, like we've said this a million times, the problem with World Superbike, this looks like he's asleep right now. The problem with World Superbike is that there's only like a handful of quality rides, and then the drop off is huge enough that MV Agusta is saying they're probably going to pull the plug, right? Because they're racing Moto2 next year. And suddenly there's a number of these coveted rides where you actually can win a race with the team and the machinery. Yamaha, Ducati, and Kawasaki all have potentially available rides, and there's all these riders that could take them. There's riders from GP and World Superbike, and yet the most that could theoretically have been the most interesting part of World Superbike, because what we saw was the rule changes are helping slightly, making it more competitive, and we can look forward towards next year and really sell the series, and no one's talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, they now that all of these GP riders are out, they should be pumping it big time, and we're seeing it from media
Should
outlets.
be pumping it big time, Tyler Rob Sexton.
There you go. We're not seeing it from World Superbike themselves, right? They need to highlight these deals. They need to start talking about contract with Bautista, with Scott Redding, because, I mean, Johnny Ray specifically said that he thinks if more GP riders, more high-profile GP riders come over to World Superbike, it can improve their following, their fan base, and improve the sport. I mean, frankly, I think he just wants someone to challenge him so he doesn't get fucking bored.
What he wants to do is have someone do the fucking work for him. He wants to be the boring-ass guy that everyone hates, and he wants someone else to sell the job for him. That's the problem that kind of bugs me, is he wants someone else to do he wants someone else to do the hard work of selling that series. And it's hard to sell it when when there's no story whatsoever. And he could have done that, Johnny Ray. You want to sell the series? You could have just not re-signed with Cowie. Every other team would have took you. You go to Yamaha, and it's interesting. And if you go to Yamaha and Scott Redding and Alvaro Bautista go to fucking Kawasaki, now we got a story. Now we got a movie everyone wants to see. But instead, you played every part super safe and then are just hoping someone else picks up the slack.
I mean, from his side of things, it makes sense. He's getting paid the most, and he's going to win a shit ton of races. But
is he getting paid the most? Is he? He only can get paid as much as they want to pay him based on the branding and the prestige level of that series. There was a time when the World Superbike frontrunners, when Troy Corser and Troy Bayliss and Colin Edwards and fucking Fogarty and Ben Bostrom, these were the guys. They were some of the most famous riders in the world. Everyone loved them. They were popular and famous on covers of magazines. It wasn't just fucking 8 guys in England that liked them. You know what I mean? And so is he getting paid the most? I doubt it. I bet you if he took a Yamaha contract that was, linked to performances and they started selling that series more, he could make more money.
You know what?
I'm KRT is.
I would love to see Ray on Yamaha or Ducati, but I just can't get mad at him because he spent so much time on that Honda and making it as competitive as it had no business being competitive, that I can't get mad with the guy just staying put where he's at.
I'm not mad at him. Stay put and shut your mouth. Don't stay put and then claim that people need to come over here and do this to make it more prestigious because you could have done it. You're the champ. You're in charge. That's your series, dog.
Yeah, instead he's just going to make sure that we don't really watch it 2 years from now. Like, if no one else comes over and no one else gets on a Ducati or a Yamaha and actually challenges, right? Marco Melandri coming over was the story kind of at the beginning of this last year, and then this year he finally had he finally got some wins, and that was kind of one of the only stories we had in World Superbike. If that happens again with a younger MotoGP rider, we'll have more stories. But if it doesn't, then who's going to watch in 2 years?
If shop himself to Repsol and get that ride, Ray could have shopped himself to Yamaha or Ducati and gotten that ride. And I'll tell you right now, Ray on the Ducati, the V4, the Panigale, winning a championship, that totally reinvigorates the series, because in the end, a Ducati winning the championship still keeps that series invigorated, because that's like the basis of the story long-term for World Superbike. It's always been the Ducati championship, and they need desperately to get back to the sharp end of the championships.
I do question whether or not he could make more at Yamaha or at Ducati, simply because KRT is a humongous company, and they have the largest budget for sure. Even if we've never seen how much they spend, the reason why they're winning, the reason why they're able to do so well, they spend the most. Like Yamaha wasn't even really a factory team until this year. Before that, they were just supported. Yamaha has slowly increased their support of the PATA team, and now they seem like a factory team. They also got some rules going their way, which is helping that. Ducati has always kind of had this amount of investment, and like Chaz Davis's like main complaint about signing is he wants the V4 Ducati to be competitive from the first round. He doesn't have to wait 3 years like he did with the Panigale or like Carlos Checa did with the 1098. Like Ducati takes a while, and that implies that they aren't putting in the funding like KRT does. Whereas I know, like I'm pretty sure there's a new Kawi 10RR coming out, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be like faster. It has more horsepower. It's gonna be a better motorcycle, and they're doing that in response to the V4. But if the V4 is slower than the Panigale from the first round, like it's gonna be more boring for this series. Like, god damn.
God dang.
We shouldn't.
Right.
God, how did we even get there? How do we even get there? I don't know. I got one last thing, Kev. You sent me a picture of Jack Miller, and I want to know why you sent me this picture.
Which one did I send home?
It's Jack Miller inside, like almost elbow on the ground with like Rossi in the background, just like looking at something else.
I have no idea why I sent you that picture.
Maybe you thought it was Petrucci or something.
Yeah. No. What happened was you just said, because the one before you literally just said send me pictures, and in the end, you know, Jack Miller's popular. He had his race ruined. It didn't really work out, but it was a cool picture qualifying. I don't know if we're gonna talk about qualifying or not, so I slapped you over a few photos just in case.
Awesome. All right.
What Rob didn't talk about was all the dick pics I send him all the time. We're talking about full frontal, dog.
It's terrible. It's terrible. I have to make sure that there are no images in my push notifications.
Yes,
because Kev has my phone number. All right, everyone. This has been a short episode for us, which you kind of expected given the racing. But we are going to continue to record during the summer break. It's short. It's only by the time you listen to this, it won't even be 3 total weeks before the next race. But we got more content planned. I'm getting a bunch of asks to do coverage of Moto 2 and Moto 3, and I feel like this is now a good time to do that.
Probably the perfect time, yep.
Yeah. We like World Superbike, all those races are free, so maybe we call some people. I don't know. Maybe we finally convince Josh Herron to like actually come on the show.
Come on, Josh, what the fuck?
Should stop honeypotting all our fans. And yeah, that's just bad. Where's this? I got a picture.
You need me to hunt down Herron on a track day again, like I did the last time.
I'm gonna see him in Utah, and I'm taking the microphone. So yeah, actually, if you want to see all the stuff that I'm gonna try and record in Utah this weekend, check out our YouTube channel, and hopefully I know what I'm doing and can still race motorcycles. But yeah, we'll figure it out. I'll probably just hand the mic to someone else. And then, of course, we have Sonoma coming up in a whole nother month. And all the bros are going to be at Sonoma. So so check out the BrotoGP Army and the BrotoGP Facebook and the Instagram for plans for Sonoma, especially if you're in Northern California. Like, share, and subscribe this video. Oh, check us out on Spotify, because we are now on Spotify. I'm telling people that already are listening to the show. They're already getting the content. But if you have friends that need to find us easily, we are now on Spotify. But all right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We will catch you next week. And peace.